Ooh, welcome in. This is a little higher than usual. I feel so so low down. Welcome in today. We will be practicing a approximately 30-minute long yin slash restore class, really intended to help support pitta or pitta aggravation, which for my Pitta friends out there, for those that are in a state of a little bit of accumulation, I know that yin and restorative can be very, very challenging for Pitta constitutions and for Pitta imbalances. Um, so maybe not the number one go-to class, but what I wanted to do was provide this style class that is specifically fine-tuned to support um, when Pitta just needs a little bit of extra attention and awareness in our system. So, since we're going for yin restorative today, make sure you've got all the stuff, blocks or books, pillows, bolsters, blankets, all the things. We're going to want to get really, really supported. And I'll meet you on the mat when you're ready. Feel free to pause if you need a moment to get there. Hmm. So, once you are set up to join practice, we will start by coming all the way down onto the back. I keep wanting to say this morning because it's morning here, but who knows what time of day it is where you're practicing. And so we'll begin today's practice in constructive rest down on the floor. And so what it looks like is this: you'll rest back onto the earth with your feet quite wide, about mats width apart, and let your knees rest into one another. And then you can allow your arms to simply come down alongside your ribs. If it feels safe for you, you can allow your eyes to close, or eyes can stay soft on an unmoving point toward the sky or the ceiling. And we'll land here for several minutes as we just, give ourselves the time and space to fully arrive. So this practice, we want to um, think of it as a practice that will encourage us to cool the inner flame when pitta gets really accumulated or aggravated. It can really churn up that hotness, that heat um, internally. And of course, one of the dangers of that is that it can sometimes be sent out into the external world and to our relationships around us. So if you're in a space where this is an option, you might want to even have the lights nice and dim, or again, if it's safe, close your eyes. Mm. This is just an invitation to come back to more of an easeful flow, a space for softening of the heart, cooling, softening, surrendering. Pitta really wants to strive for control and make sure things are quite rigid and sharp. So this is a space to just soften that out, soften the edges. Allow your drive in this practice today to be, how can I move or settle into a posture in a way that is more gentle, that is more cooling, that is more grounding, that opens greater space for my introspection. If you haven't already started to hone in on your breath, you can do that now. And without hurry, start to scan your awareness from the crown of your head all the way down your whole body form. Without hurry, toward the tips of your toes. And allow yourself to be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. There's a beautiful quote from the poet Rumi. I really feel invites in that heart softness that we're looking for, that's so balancing for, in contrast to the sharpness of accumulated pitta. Allow yourself to be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. So, in the next few breaths, if you have not already, finishing your scan, land all the way down to the soles of your feet. And then take a slow rock with your knees from side to side. You're welcome to keep your feet wide. We'll be inviting in a lot of, spaciousness for that cooling quality that Pitta looks for or requires. And then take a roll down to one side and press yourself slowly up toward a seat. So we don't typically include pranayama, or it's not often included in yin or restorative practice, but I do want to include just a few rounds today before we come to our next shape, which is a wonderful pranayama I want to offer as a tool for those states of accumulated pitta. So Shitali or Shitkari pranayam, for those that are familiar, go ahead and hop into it right now. Again, this is a parasympathetic one, so typically safe for most bodies, most practitioners, but you are always invited to simply visualize it if breath practices are not part of your yoga practice at the moment for any reason. Okay, so the inhale will be moving through your mouth, through a roll or a straw that you'll make with your tongue. So we know, of course, that not everyone can do that. And so if that's the case for you, rather than rolling a straw or a roll, you'll close your teeth and simply breathe in through your mouth, but allow the air to pass over the surface of your tongue. You can also extend your tongue without rolling, but the inhale moves in through your mouth. And so it looks like this: inhale through your mouth, and then close your mouth without clenching your jaw and exhale through your nose. And so this switch kind of acts like a pumping of the brakes. That nostril exhale really slows the exhale down. It lengthens it out more than the inhale. Inhale through your mouth, so through teeth, across the surface of your tongue, or through that rolled tongue. And then exhale through your nose. One more round. Great. So if your eyes are closed, you can flutter them open. Just a brief but kind of smooth and cool pranayam to settle us in. So go ahead and draw your knees rather together at center. Extend your legs out long. Our first posture will be caterpillar. So I always like to invite folks to prop up the hips on a blanket or even a pillow if you've got this tilt back with your pelvis. You are welcome to bend your knees a little or a lot if the hammies are kind of squeaky today. And then soften your belly, round your back, and it's a fold forward. Often in yin, folks like to take a block or two blocks to rest the weight of the head on. Remember that yin is predominantly a practice of surrender, which is what makes it so nourishing for pitta, but also so challenging. So settle in the next breath or two and come to a spot that feels sustainable, where you can land in both softness and stillness. Um, this desire to strive is a very pitta quality, which in balance is beautiful. But when it's out of whack, it can turn to like this really deep sense of competitiveness. So allow your body to be soft. Yes, you can have an edge, and notice any tendency to want to push yourself. Hold in a place that you can be soft and that you can sustain. We're about 1 minute in already. Soft in the effort. Allow the spine to round. Forward folds are so great for just cooling down the nervous system and calming that mental heat that can arise. Mm. And we know from observing nature that nothing blooms all year round, right? Rest is a natural part of any cycle, of every cycle. We observe this in nature. So if you find yourself, judging that you're not doing enough, this is a necessary part of the cycle in the human form too, in the body's form. Just about 1 minute left here. If there's space for you to soften in, right? You don't have to strive to deepen, but perhaps there's space where you can soften very naturally into a different progression. Or maybe it's a space to soften out for these last few breaths. And then in the next 3 breaths, go ahead and roll your palms facing down, if not already there, with your head nice and heavy. Lead from the backside of your soft heart. Come all the way back toward a nice tall seat. Set your blocks toward the top edge of your mat so they'll be within reach. And again, you can land into the soles of your feet and take a little rock from side to side. A little bit of movement between forms is going to be very um, comforting and nurturing for Pitta as well. It's so hard for that accumulated Pitta to be still, right? Let's go ahead and sweep the feet around toward the back. We'll come belly down now. And as we head toward either Sphinx or Seal for our next shape, I really want to encourage you to take the soft variation today. This is very intentional. That softness, so countering. So if you've got some pillows or a bolster that you can bring in, fabulous. Take that just below your lowest ribs. So not quite at hips and pelvis, right? Kind of in that soft spot between lowest rib and the crest of your hips and pelvis, and then land onto your forearms. So we'll start with Sphinx. So soft, super soft, if you're ready to really soften out those sharp edges, is with a block to the front, rest your forehead to the earth, land your palms down. Make sure the neck spine feels really neutral. If which this, there's nothing wrong with this. If the pitta is like, yeah, but I need just a little bit of something, I'm not quite ready to totally surrender, you can take your hands out a little bit wider, like the width of your mat, and hover your elbows and take this as a seal variation. I might still offer that the head is resting down. So take the next few breaths to settle into whichever expression will be the place that you land, because we're about 1 minute into this posture already. So land into stillness wherever it best works for you. If you notice there's a lot of resistance or sharpness in that seal variation, then I really emphasize lowering down and coming to Sphinx. This form helps stimulate digestion in the kidney meridian line specifically. So a little bit of compression for the low belly. And in Ayurveda, the small intestine is governed by Pitta. So it's where digestion discernment happens. And when it's a little bit too overworked, our fire is just burning too hot. We can digest even our own radiance and joy, like burn it up too fast. So let this posture be about a gentle holding, not a doing. Got a little over a minute left here. Take three more unhurried breaths. And then if you have your elbows afloat, without a hurry, allow the elbows to land. Slide your palms in under your shoulders, tuck your toes, press slowly through table toward a neutral spine. You can hang out and table at a neutral spine or sit back towards your heels or a block to find neutral spine for a few breaths. And simply pause. And scan your whole experience. Notice any elements of sharpness or heat. You can send a soft and soothing and nurturing breath right in that direction. And then go ahead and slide your feet out from underneath you. We're coming back toward a fold. So bring your feet together at midline. Some of you might have tons of blocks and props at home, and some of you maybe not as many. So, use your discretion, your discernment. That's one of the beautiful benefits of Pitta. I encourage you to prop the knees up so you can use different heights on your blocks. Reason being so that we actually take a little bit of the edge off in the hip area. But we like this shape. Pitta likes this shape because it's cooling, right? Heat can really accumulate in the crooks and the bends of our body. So groin, beneath the knees, and the armpits, of course, and elbows. So airing everything out gives Pitta that little bit of space. Then go ahead and soften your belly and start to fold forward again. If possible, you can rest your palms open upward to the sky. Something that could feel nice is to take your arms out wide. If you've got extra blocks or props or cushions, you might support the weight of your head on something there. And again, looking for layers in your form of strain or effort, just reminding yourself that you have permission to surrender, right? To to cool off, to calm, to soften. And you can always redirect and find your breath moving toward an easeful flow and sent right to your heart. Invite in a greater sense of melting. We don't always have to be the fire, right? We are allowed to also soften and be water and flow. In fact, water is a vital element of the Pitta dosha. Just when so accumulated, the fire tends to take over and burn. Take 3 last breaths. And then slowly begin your journey on up. We're heading toward the earth for our last few poses. Please keep your props and blocks within reach. Um, you also may want to situate yourself near to a wall or a chair, or I've got a bed here that, if you have something like that, that will work great as well. We'll bring in a final supported inversion, kind of like the ultimate pose for Pitta to end our class. So you can use your hands to help your knees draw together. And then go ahead and roll down to the earth. Make sure your feet are nice and wide. Rock both of your knees down to the right. So, familiar pose, I'm sure you've all seen before. However, I really encourage you today to take this as supported. So it gets softer. I'm going to bring a meditation cushion between my left knee and right ankle. You might tuck a blanket or a pillow there. You can take your arms out wide, really air out the armpits. If you'd like, you might take one hand over your heart, your energetic heart center, and just sending yourself in some nourishing ease to the softness of your heart. Going into your breath. And from an Ayurvedic perspective, twisting can really support wringing out excess heat. Excuse me. It's wringing out something there. And this is why sometimes, like particularly vinyasa classes that are twist or rotation heavy can, you can really start to sweat. You can start to perspire. Think of it like a passive twist as a way to really fan those flames. And in your next few breaths, if your equipment is kind of in the way or blocking you, you can grab it with your hands. We're going to roll up through center, but the feet stay wide. And then rock on down to the second side. So I'm going to use my cushion this time between right knee and my left foot. A pillow would be great. A bolster also works. And remember, you've got those options of bringing your arms out nice and wide to air out the pits. Maybe you want to bring a hand to your heart. Breathe into some softness there. Just under a minute on this second side. Make sure the muscles around your eyes and jaw are soft, not sharp, really silky, smooth in your breath and your thoughts. And in your next breath or two, go ahead and invite yourself back towards center. This is where you get to choose your own adventure. You might want to bring your feet up onto a chair, or if you're in a room where the bed is nearby, that can be a great option for a really supported inversion. Otherwise, you can also cushion the low back with a blanket, pillow, or bolster and extend your legs, a little less support in this one, as in a legs up the wall or Viparita Karani. Settle there as the last shape of our practice today. Before Shavasana or meditation. Make sure you're very comfortable. And in Ayurveda, the fire of Pitta is associated with the organ of the eye. So it really helps us to see clearly. But again, as with all things, when accumulated, when out of whack, when out of balance, it can just blaze too bright and we can really lose perspective. So inverting allows us to drop back into a new and kind of softer angle, right? Back to a more subtle form of seeing, of being. In these next few breaths, you can gently lower your feet, your legs back to the earth. Remove any cushion you might have underneath you. If coming towards Shavasana, I really encourage you to take your arms out quite nice and wide. Feet and legs can be quite nice and wide in today's Shavasana as well. If you prefer to sit in meditation, you are also, of course, invited to come up toward a final seat as we drop into a final brief but soft posture where we can integrate in the practice together, a full relaxation. You can imagine a pool of cool, moonlit water at the very center of your heart, and floating there. And with each exhale, you can release just one increment of heat, of intensity. And with each inhale, you can receive nourishment from that cooling glow, that moonlit reflection. Exhale to release sharpness, intensity, heat. And inhale to receive the softness, the cooling glow of that moonlit water. In the next breath or two, you can release that visualization and come once again to your natural breath. And start to come into some super gentle, super mindful movements. If you're on the earth, that could be a rock. Your head from side to side. Could be a roll of your shoulders. If you're seated, you can trace your fingertips and widen your toes. And those on the ground, roll on down to one side. And we'll come up toward a last seat where we can seal the practice together. You can bring your palms, if you'd like, face down to your heart center, just remembering that pool, that moonlit pool at the softness of your heart center. And perhaps allow the weight of your head to rest low as a silent bow of gratitude inward. Just remembering that your worth is not measured by how many items you tick off your to-do list, by the ferocity of your fire, right? But rather by that soft light housed within your heart. Thank you so much for joining in this practice to cool and steady Pitta. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day ahead and that you can move there with softness and surrender and all of those beautiful, easeful things as we move into the rest of the day. Thank you so much for joining. I hope to see you back again soon. Bye for now.